You don't need Donald Trump to be at a debate to have a show there, right? So, I mean, it was complete train wreck.
I thought that there was so much theatrics on the stage, and some of that is intentional.
I'm not sure what any of them are running for. Burgum, I think his name is, seemed like a bored rich guy who said, you know what, I got nothing better to do.
Ramaswamy certainly, I think, was the dominant figure in the debate, but he took up the most airtime. It sort of felt like he was the snappy podcast host, and it was his podcast and everybody else was his guest.
Let's break down the media spin from the first debate with Fox News contributor and columnist for The Messenger, Joe Concha. Joe, not surprising that the mainstream media is bashing Republicans. Yeah. That happens on a day that ends in Y. But what do you make of those specific attacks that you just heard?
It's 31 flavors of stupid. It's hard to tell what we just watched from what you see on The View every day. It's just to be as provocative as possible. CNN, right, is now back to being the resistance network. They had that panelist on last night who dropped an S-bomb, probably practiced that in the mirror about 18 times before he went on, because you don't accidentally say that. He was like, oh, this is my moment. I'm going to go viral. And then sure enough, the usual places that cover this stuff picked that up right away. I love Joy Reid talking about how Doug Burnham, right, who she's like, oh, how do you pronounce his name? Yeah, he just seems like a bored rich guy who just decided he wanted to run. Like who? Tom Steyer? Who's point. Tom Steyer? Yeah. Oh, Joe Biden's at his house in Lake Tahoe right now, the bored billionaire as well. So it's just so predictable because it's on a personal level.
Yeah, it was a lot of personal vitriol.
Precisely.
When usually reserved for the former president who wasn't even on stage last night. So I was wondering why the personal attacks.
Because they have R's next to their names. Yeah. So they're echoing the White House. These are all extreme MAGA people that are up there. And I didn't see much analysis around the issues that matter to people in this country. You look at Gallup, what are the most important issues facing this country? It's economy, it's crime, it's immigration / the border, it's education, it's trust in government. And if we actually saw analysis of that, they would have to make those issues a referendum on the person currently in the White House named Joe Biden and his performance over the last 2.5 years, Todd.
Well, the person who people say ran the White House in the absence of the actual president is one Ron Klain, was the chief of staff. Here's what he thought about how last night went.
Okay.
I thought overall it was the person with the best night was Joe Biden. Because you looked at those 8 people, you could imagine none of them being president. You can imagine none of them making a credible case against Joe Biden. Most of them blew their big chance to seem presidential.
Look, you knew he was going to say that, but to the point he just made that he's presidential. Has he seen his former boss lately if he wants to talk about seeming presidential, Joe?
Can I use an Animal House reference? Let's keep Ron Klain up there for a minute. If Flounder grew up, right, from the Delta House, that's basically who we're looking at this point. Oh, that was wrong. I just got personal and was being very hypocritical. Here, I just can't get Flounder out of my head. No. Here's the point, though. When he talks about how Biden had the win last night, talk about practicing something in the mirror, because he's going to say that no matter what he saw in this case. The bottom line is that 18% of this country, per Gallup, thinks they're satisfied with the direction of this country. And we talked about those issues before. Joe Biden's polling in the 30s on his handling of inflation, in the 20s as far as his handling of the border. There's no issue where he's actually polling more positive than negative. So don't tell me that Joe Biden won the night last night. I guess he did, though, in the sense where the analysis, at least, didn't talk about him very much in terms of his performance.
Well, when asked if he was going to be watching the debate, I believe that the White House's response is that he might not. He's too busy working for the American people. When he's on his second vacation in a month, he took a Pilates and spin class yesterday and then retired to an $18 million home of one Tom Steyer. And I thought that the first question that was asked during the debate, when Martha brought up Oliver Anthony's song, Richmond, north of Richmond, was a really good place to start. And it does go to show exactly what the song is about when you think of Joe Biden and the Biden family and how they became, how Joe Biden talks about all the time, how he was the poorest member of Congress. And now look at him living large. I wonder how that happened.
So I may be writing a book that's coming out this fall called Not Your Daddy's Donkeys. And it's all about how the Democratic Party has gone from being the party for the little guy, for the working man and woman, to the party of elites. And the president's actions over the past month in terms of being on a beach 5,000 2,000 miles away from Maui, not visiting that horrible, horrible zone as far as families, whole families being incinerated. You're looking at a death toll well into the hundreds, and there he is at his beach house, then going to Lake Tahoe at that house that we mentioned right now. That's where the Democratic Party is at this point. It's appealing more to the elites than to the common people out there, and that's why that song is resonating so much, and that's why Republicans need to hammer that home in debate after
Such a contrast between people who want to restore America to greatness on the one hand and a president who's taking a spin class while America spins in a downward spiral.
American people decide.
Joe Concha, I was pretty proud of that, and that leads to this.
I'm Steve Doocy. I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.